Fellow citizens, citizens. The world is very different now.
Welcome back! I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 81st installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, I somehow forgot about the unholy abomination that is Girly Sticker. It already released in Japan. I would like to hold whatever designer installed a boob window personally responsible for my emotional distress. And I can't wait to see 1,500 pictures of people's blouses poking out of it in weird ways, right up until the moment some sentient possum decides to do an arrow cord, and all of Closet of Frills gets an eyeful that no one asked for. This series appears to come in a JSK, OP, salopette, and potential Cutso hooded OP for those who would like to hide their head in shame. Meanwhile, the It's a Girl ribbon is giving serious gender reveal vibes. How many states have to go up in flames before these people are satisfied? Tune in next week for mass flooding in Colorado after giant pink shrinky dink collapses local dam. What townspeople survived have extended congratulations to the Smiths on the conception of their stupid embryo. I hate this dress with every fiber of my being. I'm experiencing an existential crisis because I want it regardless, and the inner turmoil as I decide whether or not to buy it is like some cheap fanfic ship between a hero and antagonist where all it takes to tip the scales of romance is a well-timed kabedon and some cheap red wine. Side note, if someone tried that with me in real life, I'd bury my parasol in their solar plexus, but in fiction, frank me if that isn't the Doki Doki equivalent of a goddamn defibrillator. Put down the shock waffles, doctor. All the patient needs is 20 cc's of being slammed into a wall. Transitioning back to things that make sense to the sober, Meta has shocked the market with the success of their plus-size offering for their Magical Artifacts series. If by shock the market you mean provided said market with sizes that would actually fit them, and said market responded by buying clothes that they can wear on their bodies because being naked in public is generally discouraged. In all seriousness, given the enduring myth that brands don't make bigger sizes because there just isn't a market for them, this is a fantastic step forward for furthered accessibility. The plus-size JSK has a max 53-inch bust, max 47-inch waist, and Angelic Pretty's OPs need to take note because I am one breathe out, zip, and shriek away from mailing them a middle finger. It is the year of your Lord 2020, Angelic Pretty is still not putting goddamn shirring in their OPs, and this reporter is getting a little tired of seeing them list measurements like 36-inch bust and 28-inch waist, only to realize it's going to sit on my ribs, which given that I am not shaped like a fracking rhombus, means it's not going to fracking fit. Gone are the days of the shirred mini sleeve OP. For now, it is the winter of fuck tall bitches. Moving on to brands that don't want the height advantage to perish in a horrible accident wherein their head bows breach the stratosphere, take out a Russian spy plane, and all of creation becomes embroiled in World War III. This brand I refuse to pronounce because of the trauma inflicted upon me by Canadian French people is hosting a coordinate contest by the name of Trick or Treat Tea Party Coord Competition. All who participate will receive a 10% coupon for the brand's online store. You can submit your coord by using the hashtags on the screen, and 3 winners will be chosen November 2nd, Japan time, by the CEO via live stream, while the apparent prize is being featured on the brand's social media pages. Note that you can enter with a worn cord, flat lay, or mannequin, and all participants are expected to wear some article from the brand. Cue the lamentations from that lady who didn't get a button at Disneyland Lolita Day because she wasn't wearing Lolita. I like to think she's moved on to bigger and better things, like crashing some poor kid's bris and demanding a circumcision of her own. Which finally brings us to our last new release of the evening, Name of Guardian by Metamorphose. A series which is fully in stock as of the writing of this script, for reasons I do not understand, because it is gorgeous. This OP comes in black, purple, and the best color by far. I can't believe the community isn't losing their minds over this embroidery alone. And while I do understand that this looks like a Nurse Joy uniform after she went through a Nietzsche phase, that custom embroidery is fracking amazing. The little nurse hat is everything. And even though I wouldn't spend 2 cents on this because I am duty bound to commit every nickel to making sure AP can pump out more polyester insults to human decency, even with all all that, I have to admit that insofar as combat medic from the Magical Girl universe, in MMORPG adjacent, costumey looking, it's not Halloween looking motherfuckers, this fit is fucking fire. I feel the need to scrape those words off my tongue with a blowtorch, but given that that would serve the purposes of people who desperately wish I would stop talking, I think I'll just double down and say Nurse Toga could never, your waifu is trash, and I've lost all direction in this installment. May as well veer off and say I'm waiting to see what the fuck happened to Kagome and Inuyasha in Yashahime. Are they fracking dead? And did Sesshomaru marry his fucking daughter? I am so deeply disturbed. Jerking the wheel back towards the news highway before we end up in a ditch. That about wraps up the week, and without further ado, welcome to Last Week Lolita News' next special segment. Most embarrassing moments in EGL. It all started in Ruffle Chat, but not in the usual way. Given that this thread is good, I got through it entirely sober, and not a single person had their face ripped off for breathing in the wrong direction. And now we're going to engage in some compassionate cringing over the EGL community's collective foibles. OP asked for people's most embarrassing experiences while in Lolita, and not Lolita specific, but I saw a really hot girl while out in Lolita before and ran face first into a wall because I was staring. Yes, she noticed, and yes, I ran away as fast as I could in my heels. A story I like, just on the premise of the hot girl watching you get perpendicular with a barrier before she hears the sound of panic clacking as you retreat. I like to think that this happened on concrete, just to amplify the sound as you go from hey, smack to clack, clack, clack. If it makes you feel better, I once walked into a glass door like it was a Windex commercial. You have not heard a bang until you hear a speed-walking woman collide with glass on top of tile. And I only wish I had been distracted by a hot lady. In truth, I was after hot little wieners and barbecue sauce, and little smokies are apparently all it takes to move my inner needle from sentient human being to crash test dummy for my uncle's back door. I am also not the only one inflicting violence on my surroundings, as another commenter said. I was gesturing aggressively in Harajuku Hearts and smacked a wig head so hard it went flying off the table and the shop girl silently put it back. I am presuming this commenter is American. I do not know that they are American, but I do love this entire scenario for our international image because nothing is more American than walking into a shop and bitch slapping a wig head like it bombed Pearl Harbor. The silent endurance of the shop girl is especially great. You know she was thinking she had Wreck-It Ralph on her hands the first time you gestured your way into an inanimate assault charge, but by knocking over the second thing, you've put that bovine in the china shop in the unemployment line. His children need cud, you inhuman monster. This human on hair follicle infighting is not to be outdone though, because our next commenter wrote, I was wearing rocking horse shoes and trying to hurry, and that's never a good combo. My ankle buckled and I went flat on my back, wig flew off my head right outside a convention center. Thankfully, the only thing hurt was my pride. A point I would have agreed with had it not been for the 5-year-old child I'm sure you traumatized by going parallel with the ground like some kind of specter, launching the top of your skull like it was a pop gun, and ruining Disney movies for this little schmuck for the end of time, because every time they see a princess, they're going to think part of her head is removable. I saw Chuck E. Cheese without his head once and it fucked me up for a week. This little twerp is going to grow up thinking women above a certain age are out there scalping their enemies and wearing the results. It is at this point that I need to share that there were a whole lot of stories featuring falls associated with rocking horse shoes. Might I suggest that there seems to be a trend here? Maybe looking like you have 2 clubbed feet while clopping around like a horse isn't worth a potential concussion. The next story is certainly a cautionary tale, and the commenter writes, my first meetup was a swap meet, and we put blankets on the ground and put our stuff on the blankets. I was sitting on the ground next to my stuff, and one of the other girls bent over in front of me. She wasn't wearing any bloomers or shorts, but frilly see-through underwear. I saw everything. I was so embarrassed. Word to the wise, those who don't want half the community up on their punani are best advised to wear something other than dental floss and a prayer. It is common fracking courtesy not to treat comm members like surprise gynecologists, and while I'm sure you could save on some copays by having the general public see your tonsils from the perspective of your undercarriage, for For the sake of small dogs and medium-sized children, maybe, just maybe, buy yourself a pair of $2 shorts and keep your panty hamster to yourself. I think we have time for one more story for the evening, and I think we can go out with a bang with the next one, which goes... I was wearing Lolita while working the registers, and an elderly customer looked at me, paused, and then said, "You are so fat." Then paused another second, looked at me again, then added, "Oh no, it's fine, but your petticoat makes you look a lot fatter." I was too shocked to be able to answer anything. Who the heck says that to strangers? I swear to God, old people are a class act. We've got Gertrudes out here with faces looking like a map of Kentucky, and this AARP grocery store grape eater creaks their way up to a perfectly nice individual, forgets the word for poofy, and ejaculates the first stupid thought that comes to their mind, like you took their stream of consciousness, mixed it with Metamucil, and put it in a blender. People one bad cough away from a broken hip sure are cocky considering the state of their own physical condition. Most of them lost track of their waistline sometime in the 60s, and I certainly don't want to hear any commentary on my perceived waist from a person who pulls their pants up to their nipples, clenches their belt, and leaves the house with a wedgie that could countersuck a black hole. This old bat should go back to her belfry. I've run out of reasons to continue making words, and that's all the time we have for tonight. This has been Tyler. You've been watching Scarfing Scarves, and before you go to bash your brains against a bottle of Jack and Coke and drink until time becomes a liquid entity, I'd like to thank my patrons for endorsing this nonsense. I want you all to know that you are entirely responsible for the monstrous things I'm entirely capable of. And should you like to join their number, you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews should you like to know my plan of attack before the general public is caught entirely by surprise. It won't alleviate the apprehension, but at least you'll see the word salad coming before it smacks you in the face. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next time. For now, it is the winter of fucked all bitches. So stupid.